Alright everyone, hello, what is up? TheLoganatorz here, and welcome back to another episode of KSP Conquest. Today we start in the vehicle assembly building. We are working on our Rescue 1 craft. This is going to go to low Kerbin orbit and rescue any Kerbals that we have stranded there and bring them back safely to Kerbin. It's actually remote controlled on ascent and intercept, and then whichever Kerbal comes in, they'll take over, and then the computer will provide stability assist. So, kind of a short stubby design we have here, but it's supposed to be reusable too, so that's really cool. But yeah, that's about it for this craft. Let's go on to the launch pad and launch a craft that we already have built, which is Minmus Explorer 3. Alright, here we are on the launch pad with Minmus Explorer 3, piloted by Valentina Kerman. The third mission to Minmus to land on the surface with a Kerbal knot. Hopefully it will go successfully. Last time, well, all the times we've had a few hiccups, but I think Valentina Kerman's got this one covered, so only way to see if she does is to launch the vessel, so we're going to do just that in 3, 2, 1, and lift off. Minmus Explorer 3 is in the air. The ascent to Minmus Explorer 3 goes without a hitch, and we just push ourselves out of the atmosphere and into orbit. And we actually go all the way to orbit without using the map view, except for circularization, just so we know that we have a decent parking orbit before we go to Minmus. And yeah, pretty much that launch was easy as 1, 2, 3, because we've already done that launch 2 times before, so no problems whatsoever. We switch on over to the first stage for a recovery, and yeah, we just re-enter the atmosphere. Everything is going good. We deploy the drogue chutes and then the main chutes, and we prepare to slow ourselves down with the main engines for a nice soft landing. However, we managed to lose connection somehow. I guess our satellites were just out of place at the wrong moment or something. But that hasn't really happened before, so that was kind of weird to see. But we did recover some parts, but most of it's destroyed, unfortunately. But yeah, it's the secondary mission, not the main mission. So let's go switch on over to the main mission and head on over to Minmus. So here we are in orbit. We're just going to assemble the modules together so we can head on off to the moon. Not the mun, but the moon of Kerbin called Minmus. I don't know why I could have just said Minmus, but okay. Anyways, we're docked and we've already planned our maneuver, so we're just gonna burn our way out there. We depleted all the fuel in the second stage, so we're gonna switch on over to the service module's engine and complete the burn from there. Do our mid-course corrections, and we are at Minmus. Pretty boring stuff, so we're just gonna skip ahead to the fun part of it, which is circularizing at Minmus and transferring the crew to the lander. And then, of course, the main show is landing on Minmus. So, yeah, there we go. Just performing our deorbit burn. And being wary not to overestimate the power of the landing engine, because that's what we did last time when we just smashed into the surface and almost killed one of our crew members. What was it? It was Bob Kerbin, I believe. So yeah, good thing we didn't do it this time. We landed just safely. Valentina Kerman collects all the science, plants a flag, and stares out at Kerbin, which is just hanging in the sky way out in the distance. Look at that beautiful sight. Anyways, we plant our flag, get back in the lander, and perform our ascent to go rendezvous with the command and service module, and then head back home. We're not going to do a hard docking this time because that would just take more time. We want to get to other stuff in the episode, so we perform a rendezvous, take all the science, activate the engine, and just shoot it back into the surface. For some reason, the command and service module is spinning weirdly, so we have to do a bit of acrobatics, but we do get in. Anyways, we're back on our course to Kerbin, and it's time to go do some other awesome stuff in the meantime. And the other awesome stuff that we are doing in the meantime is constructing our Eve mission. Now, this mission is going to go orbit Eve. It's going to collect some ScanSat data. It's going to send even a lander too, and explore Gilly as well. So there's a lot of objectives that's riding on this mission. I don't have any contracts for this mission either too, so this is just pure for science, and hopefully I can unlock new contracts by completing this mission. That's my orbiter right there with the new unlocked Comtech dish part. I'm pretty sure it's a Comtech, I'm not too sure, but it's rated for Eve mission, so that's really cool. And I'm actually building a lander on the side, kind of Cassini style. However, I look at my mass and it's just offset too much, so I'm gonna have to come up with a different idea. I tried going Galileo style and adding the lander down below, but then it doesn't work and I get an idea to put the lander on top by using a girder section that clips through the dish. So that ends up working, so pretty cool. I skipped most of the rockets construction because it's pretty much all my other rockets that I've been doing, pretty same construction style except for the boosters at the bottom there, so I'll just show that in, as well as my guidance unit for landing on Kerbal. But anyways, that's the building done. Let's go on to the next thing. Alright, here we are with Rescue Launcher 1. I just didn't know what to come up, any creative name or anything, so I just called it Rescue Launcher 1, because that was the first thing that came to my head. But as the name implies, we're going to be rescuing a Kerbal from orbit. Specifically, Gersurik German. He's stranded in orbit. He's actually flying overhead, so we're going to have to accelerate our launch process. But yeah, we just got to rescue him from orbit. This probe here, capsule is actually a probe. It's controlled up here on top, and the bottom stage is supposed to be reusable. Hopefully all goes to plan, but there's only one way to find out. So let's get this bird in the air in 3, 2, 1, and liftoff. Wow, she is accelerating a lot faster than I thought. But now that Rescue Launcher 1 is in the air, all we have to do is accelerate up into orbit and just perform the same maneuvers as pretty much all my missions. But this stage can accelerate a lot faster than I thought, so I'm going to have to scale back on the engines that I put on the bottom next time. So yeah, we just burn straight through the atmosphere up into space, and we just use the engines to get ourselves a nice maneuver and close rendezvous. So yeah, the upper stage engine rendezvous is really close with the craft, but before we actually get to the rendezvous point, we're going to switch back to the first stage for our landing. So here we are, just pushing our way up into orbit. And then I go and switch back to the first stage for the landing. So yeah, just flip it around, pretty easy, pretty routine at this point, and just re-entering. Those engines could take a really massive beating in terms of heating, so wow, I didn't even expect that to rhyme, but it did. But so yeah, we just burned through the atmosphere, and we are alright. However, we do lose an engine. Other than that, we are good. With the guy who we rescued was a scientist, so that's good. We need more of those. And he's got a really nice, stylish mustache, too. Mustache. But yeah, there we go. So we're just going to do our deorbit burn, and we're going to get our scientist back to the KSC. Ditch the service module, and orientate the spacecraft the right way, and just re-enter the atmosphere. All is looking just great. So yeah. Pretty good mission. Here we are re-entering. Pretty good trajectory. Nothing too serious. Not going to burn up. So all is very good. Unfortunately, we do overshoot the KSC, and it is the dark side of Kerbal. So didn't get the quite great lighting. But what we do get for good lighting, or at least momentarily, is the Minmus Explorer 3 re-entry, which is now just coming back. It took a while for it to get back, but Valentina Kerbal has finally made it after a 13-day-long mission, I believe. So yeah, something like that. I wish I could read my mission clock, but I just can't right now because the window of my editor is a little pixely. But anyways, we have to focus on KSC right now, or KSP. We deploy the parachutes, all is good. We re-enter the atmosphere, everything's nice. So, Valentina Kerbal, another successful mission. Now, we also need to work on something else. That Eve mission that we are launching needs some communication, so we're going to go build another craft. But first, we unlock a few new parts that we've been looking at for a while and accept some more contracts. So here's the communication satellite that we're going to do. We're going to put it in polar orbit. We're actually going to build 3 of them to create a secondary communications service above Kerbal. So yeah, pretty cool. And by the way, before I forget about it, those parts that I unlocked are pretty much station parts, so I can't wait to build a space station rather soon. That's going to be really nice to see flying overhead. I'll probably put it in a near polar orbit so I can go over more biomes and I can get more data to put in my science laboratory. Or laboratory. I try to say it like Scott Manley-ish, or however that accent is. I don't know. But anyways, we're finished with this craft, so yeah, I guess the next thing to do is go launch it on the pad. Alright, here we are on the pad with our next generation satellite. This is going to provide communications for interplanetary probes such as Aphrodite 1, which is currently 4 days away from being completed, and hopefully that's going to be able to land on the surface of Eve, as well as orbit Eve and go to Gilly and just map a bunch of stuff. So it's going to be a very, very important mission, and in order for it to succeed, we need to launch this communication satellite so we can communicate with Aphrodite 1 as much as possible, as while it travels to Eve and performs all its various maneuvers and stuff. And to do this, we're going to go into a polar orbit today. We have plenty of fuel in the first stage to get into an orbit And we have much more in the main tanks of the spacecraft itself to push it into the right orbit. But anyways, let's get into orbit with IPC, or Interplanetary Communications 1. So let's go in 3, 2, 1, and liftoff! Nothing to see here. Okay, let's go. After that shaky launch, our satellite is actually pushing its way onto orbit with relative ease. It's a pretty easy launch. The only thing that we have to take into account is the planet's spin, because when you go into a polar orbit, the lateral velocity of the planet's spin is going to throw you to one side. So in my case, I had to burn a bit more east because the planet is rotating to the west. So that's how we had to do it. But we do get into orbit, and this first stage is actually powerful enough to be considered an SSTO, and it brings our payload up into the proper orbit. So we deploy it, and we use the onboard engine to maneuver it into a perfect 350 kilometer orbit. So pretty good there. Took a lot of management and OCD, but I was able to get it. We switch back to the first stage for our landing, do a deorbit burn, and re-enter the atmosphere. And it almost burns up on re-entry, but we managed to slow down just in time. So all is good there. First mission a success. We just need to launch 2 more of these satellites, and our polar interplanetary coverage is going to be complete. But anyways, now that we have the first primary satellite in orbit, let's go to the Eve mission. Alright, here we are on the pad with Aphrodite 1, the craft that I've been talking so much about. This is supposed to go all the way to Eve and complete a ton of missions, including landing on the surface. Inside we have a lander, we have an orbiter, it's going to be able to do altimetry scans, it's going to have a bunch of science reports, everything is going to be awesome. And to get it all there, we need a powerful rocket, and that's why this one here is so big on the pad. This is probably about our biggest rocket that we made, although our Minmus exploration missions used a larger payload, so I guess they were slightly bigger maybe, but we've got boosters on this one. Anyways, I know you all want to see this fly into the air and hopefully not crash, or I hope you don't want to see it crash. I don't want to see it crash. It would be cool, but I'd like to see it get to Eve though, and that's what we're going to try and do today. So let's get this thing in the air in 3, 2, 1, and we are up. Aphrodite 1 is off the pad and proceeding towards its parking orbit, and then from there it's going to go on off to Eve. But there goes our strap-on boosters. Those are part of the RLA stock extensions pack. That's going to provide a little bit of extra oomph off the pad, and yeah, those are going to help us get into an orbit. Although we have plenty of Delta V to perform this mission, having extra is not going to hurt, especially when we need to go to the moon of Gili as well. We're going to jettison our first stage there, and that's going to go and hopefully land on the surface of Kerbal for reusability. And then the second stage there is going to push it all the way to Eve and perform a capture burn from there. The reason why I named this craft Aphrodite 1 is because of it's the Russian translation for Aphrodite, which is the Greek god equivalent of Venus. So yeah, it's kind of complex there, but yeah, that's how it is. It's Aphrodite, right? Yeah. Aphrodite? No, I don't know my pronunciations. I'm so sorry. But anyways, we have landed the first stage on the ocean, and we recovered it for all its extra funds. And we have to burn at quite an inclination here because we didn't match Eve's inclination on launch. So we lost a bit of Delta V there. And we lost a bit more Delta V since we have to make a rather inefficient burn to get to Eve, since we're doing this capture, or this home and transfer a bit too late, so it's not as efficient, but we still have the Delta V to do so, and that's why we're performing this mission. But anyways, we have connection to our long-range communication satellite. We have all the solar arrays deployed, and the mission is definitely a go. We are already exiting Kerbin's sphere of influence, going where no spacecraft has gone before, and we get 20,000 funds for just leaving Kerbin. So just imagine what we're going to get when we enter Eve's sphere of influence. We do a mid-course correction and just set up our encounter, so we're going to be ready to intercept Gili when we do our capture burn. So there we go. All is looking good for that mission. Just 180 days until we reach that maneuver, so it's going to be a couple episodes. But anyways, in the background here is our next long-range interplanetary communication satellite, and it's just going to help IP, is it IPC? Yeah, IPC 1, Interplanetary Communications 1. So this is Interplanetary Communications 2, and it's just the same profile as the first one. We just have to wait until the launch site is under the ICP, IPC. It's not ICP, it's IPC. I'm going to mispronounce that a lot. But anyways, we just have to wait till the Mission Control Center is underneath the orbital path for IPC-1, and we're able to launch IPC-2. So here comes the second stage in for a re-entry. We do lose communication here because we did our deorbit burn over the poles, so we don't have anything that can communicate it with here. That's unfortunate, but luckily we land in the water and the parachutes are enough to slow it down, and we do recover it for a lot less funds because it's a lot harder to recover a spent stage in the Arctic than it is next to the KSC, but that's fine. We're going to launch the third one here, and that's going to complete, almost complete our ring of communication satellites. There is a small gap. It's not a big deal. We're still going to get like 90% coverage most of the time. And if we launch another one, it's not going to make a big difference, but, you know, just for OCD's sake, I guess we might launch another one. But, you know, it pretty much completes the network of long-range satellites, so I think we're pretty good here. Anyways, yeah, that satellite goes up into a 350-kilometer orbit, and the spent stage comes back for re-entry and landing. This time we do have connection. However, the drogue chutes actually deploy early and break, so I haven't had that happen since the parachutes were updated in 1.4, 1.5, something like that. So I haven't had that happen in a while. And then the whole stage starts flying, which is kind of cool. But then the parachutes stop it, and it falls gently down to the surface. So pretty good there. But yeah, that has been Kerbal Conquest Episode 7, guys. I do hope you've enjoyed this episode of KSP Kerbal Conquest. And yeah, I can't wait for the next episode where we're actually going to build our first space station and complete many more contracts as well. But with that being said, guys, thank you so much for watching, and I can't wait to see you then. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next episode of KSP Conquest.